coil packs now on both sides undone. Do note these coil packs, they have 2 plugs per cylinder. Very nice. Wiring here, which will stay back there. If it doesn't, I'll get a good old piece of rope and tie them back. The plugs are here out of the way. Next thing to do is to start undoing the valve cover bolts and get these babies off of there. It won't be simple, and there is if I tuck this one out of the way, you can see, oops, there is another hose here which I do have a replacement for, as that's what I told the customer to get. So I'll just be cutting that off and then replacing it with a nice new one. Okay, I think that's about it for the moment. Yep, and the plugs are off on this side, coils are on this side, so we're good to go. Start unbolting. Now is time to try and get these valve cover bolts out. Some of them I'll be able to reach with this, others I won't. So let's see how this goes. Guess that one's got to come out. Oh, he's longer than the others. I don't think I'll make a mistake with that. Another one there. Can I? No, that one's got the dipstick on it, you dipstick. Get to that one. Oh, that one nearly fell. I can't get on it square. Oh, okay, man. Yes, I did. I got on that one squarely. But not squarely enough. So I got 1, 2 down there that I need to get. I'll have to do without the no point in showing you that. I'll just get those off, and then once that's done and I've got the cover off, I'll come over this side and show you what we need to do over here. One thing I want to show you guys before I clean this engine, and I said before I clean it, and you can see how clean it is internally. And this engine has probably got close to 200,000 miles on it. And look at the beautiful condition here. Yeah, of course there's a little staining. This customer makes sure that he does regular oil changes, and I really can't stress enough how important that is. Most normal oils, it is good to change at approximately 3,000 miles, every 3,000 miles. With the synthetic oil, it can be 5,000 miles. If your vehicle has high mileage, use the high mileage oil. It has the additives to help protect your engine. You may think that, oh, this is clever, I said 3,000 miles and I pushed it to 4,000, therefore every third oil change I'm saving. Yeah, you're saving what, $30 maybe? How much is an engine? How much is a car if you destroy the engine? It's a false economy. Now, yeah, you can disagree with me, that's your prerogative. I've always changed oil every 3,000 miles in my vehicles, and I've also done what's called a flush, motor flush. It helps keep the crap out. Again, everybody's individual choice. These are just what I've learned over the years working on vehicles. Just thought I'd throw that one in, and now I'll clean this before I put the new valve cover gasket on and put the cleaned, or what will be cleaned, valve cover. Then I shall move over to the other side. Right, let's go to the other side. No, let's finish this side first. While I remember, before I move over to the other side, this is the gasket.
they're different from one side to the other, so make sure you get the correct one. This is the one from the passenger side. It's got, extra little pieces on it, so you have to make sure you get the correct gasket, and you get it the correct way up, of course. This gasket is hard. It's not sealing anymore. It's not at the stage where it's brittle, but it's really quite hard, and it wouldn't take much longer before that baby gets really rock hard and then begins to snap. Alright, just wanted to let you see that before I moved on to the next section. Alright, just an extra little note. When you are fitting this gasket, do make sure you tuck this piece of rubber on the inside. If you get that caught, you will get a leak. Now this gasket seems to be holding in there pretty well. If it didn't, I would put a little sealant in there in like 4 or 5 places just to hold it in. And also the same on this end here. Make sure you get that tucked in the right place. Okay, just wanted to add that before I put this cover back on. Right, time to torque down the valve covers. This has to be done to either 8 Newton meters, 5.9 foot-pounds, or 71 inch-pounds. I'm going to stick with Mr. Newton, because I like him. You start at the middle and work your way out, or as close to the middle as you can get. So let's start here on this particular one. There we go. Don't rush it. Take your time. And of course you have made sure the gasket is aligned all around. There we go. That's it. It's not much at all. Now going to the opposite side. Okay, here we go. There it is. Okay, so that's just those two done. And basically you work, damn, I hate using that word. You start in the center and work your way out in a spiral direction. And then you're good to go. If you were going for a higher torque setting, my recommendation would be start, I don't know, if you were going for 100 foot-pounds, you'd start with like 30, then go perhaps to 75, and then to 100. This is only 8 Newton meters, it's not much at all. So I'm just going straight for the final torque. Once I have completed the torque in sequence, I will then go around it one more time just to make doubly sure. Okay, that's it on this particular section. Next I will be putting the coils back on, which you really don't need to see. You just put them back on, put the bolt through and connect the wires. Then I will be going over to the other side. As you can see, the valve cover has been cleaned. Now it's not perfection, it's just been cleaned. If this was a restoration job, that would be totally different. That would have been sandblasted, polished, and all sorts of different things. It's not. It's a service item. I've serviced it, I've cleaned it, and well, basically that's it. So, damn, I used that word again. So I will now move over to the other side and show you the removal of that valve cover, which I'm sure is going to be fun because there's lots of stuff in the way. One other thing that I'd like to show, which really is not relevant particularly to this job, and that is, should you ever wish to know the firing order, it's here. See? 143625. Of course, that does mean you need to know which is cylinder 1, but I'm sure you could figure that out, or certainly find it online. But it just gives you the firing order. That's helpful, Mr. Mercedes. And also they have these numbers here, which I believe goes to, yes, there's cylinder number 1, cylinder number 2, cylinder number 3, and it shows you the because of the twin spark plugs, which is which. Okay. I hope you find that of interest. If not, oh well, never mind. Alright, next little piece, the hoses. I've just taken this one off. I had to cut it off. So it's not bad. It's not bad. I must admit it's not bad. But the customer's bought me some nice new ones, so that's what I'm going to put on. Now there's a couple of little tricks, things I like to do. WD-40. Yeah, I know it's not in a WD-40 bottle, but it's good stuff. Helps you get the hoses on. Look at that. Done there. And with a bit of effort and persuasion, look at that. Done there too. The other thing I like to do with the electrical connectors here, these little rubber boots, they're great. Get some dielectric grease. Just dab a little bit on it. Just, you know, round the edges. Why, you may ask? Why are you doing that? Well, what it is the next time these need to come out, which at some point they will, this dielectric grease not only lubricates, it helps preserve these rubber seals, and also it helps the seal. So that's a lot better. I will do the same on this one as well, if there is a rubber boot. Now, there she goes. That's one on. And go on, number 2. There we go. Number 2 and number 3. Now, it also, that one clicked. There we go, that one clicked. And that one clicked. Do make sure they click, because if they don't, they will pop off. You know, the Russian pop off. So, there we are. They're on, they're done. They're nicely lubricated. The dielectric grease seals, preserves, and it sure as hell makes it a darn sight easier to put it on. Next thing is to put the pipe back on here and connect up the mass airflow sensor. So we will do that. And I tell you what, there's something else I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to give that mass airflow sensor a bit of a clean with some mass airflow sensor cleaner prior to installing it. Why does it need it? Who knows? But it does no harm. Alright. Onward and upward. I'll get the pipe on. I won't show you me putting the pipe on. That's kind of pointless. But then we'll move on to the other side, taking off the other valve cover gasket. Alright, I have removed all the nuts, bolts, whatever you want to call them, from this valve cover. Some of them are really awkward to get to, especially over down here. Now I've got to try and get this out of here. I've disconnected this pipe, which is remarkably stiff. Okay, the cover is loose. Come on, my baby. Of course, you will always encounter things that get in the way. Pipey here. Oh, that's up. Yeah, I guess they don't want to make it easy, do they? It's just there she goes. All right. All right, and here's another one. Yeah, somebody used adhesive on it. Guess they were having difficulty putting it in. Oh, this one is really hard. This is definitely not been sealing anything. All right, off to the tank here. We'll give that baby a good clean. Let's have a look here and see. Yeah, I mean, remarkably clean. Well done, Ken. Keep those oil changes going. Apart from that, not so bad. I'll give it a clean up before I put it on, and I didn't show you that on the other side, and I did that, but I'll try and show you this. It's really nothing more than getting the crap out of the way and spraying it with brake cleaner is one of the things that I use. The main reason I use that is it evaporates. It's good for that. It certainly appears that it's been leaking, and I can see some oil down in here. Sorry, can't get my hand there. Down in here. I'm not sure if oil flows through the intake manifold. I sincerely hope not. If it does, it could be that we need to do that at a later date. We will see. This is part of an ongoing project, one thing at a time, to try and save money, which is always a good thing, and we will see how this goes. So this is all going to be cleaned up, everything's put back together, run it for a while, maybe even put in what's called a tracer, which is an oil additive, and it brings out a dye, and you highlight it with a ultraviolet light, and that gives you an indication as to where the leaks are. Hope we don't need to go down that road, but we will see. Okay, that's it now. I will just clean up this cover and get this one back on, and then we're pretty close to the end of the job. Alright, just wanted to show you this cleaned up now, as you can see, looking nice and clean. Surfaces are prepared and ready for the new gasket. The next trick is going to be getting the valve cover in there with the gasket attached without dislodging it. The previous person who'd worked on this had used some sealant to hold the gasket in position. That's something I may have to do. I hope I don't. And the gasket is here, installed and ready, and that's just a bit of residue in there. Don't think it's rust. It's not rust. It's also not something that's going to come off without a lot of work. So this is the gasket all ready, and we'll get this baby put in and take it from there. Now, before you tighten everything down, which I have already done, because I did check this, do make sure the gasket is in the correct place. And as you can see by that lovely little black line, it's perfectly aligned everywhere. Very hard to see back here, unfortunately, but it is aligned. And I also did the finger test. Just get your hand, run it around, see if you can feel the gasket. Unfortunately, I can. Alright, next thing to do here is to put the coil packs back on. I've already connected the pipe here, nice new replacement, and the hose back here. Just got to finish off with this air intake and get that in the right place, and connect the hose over there. Then put the cover back on, and we should be good to go. I've given it a bit of a clean down there. I'm going to get underneath and check it just to make sure, and give that a clean underneath, so that we can trace these oil leaks should there be any more. I have noted that the oil filler cap here has a crack in it, so that is going to have to be replaced. I'll let the customer know, and he can go get himself a new cap and put that on, because no point in me doing it for him and charging him $1 million. Alright, let me get the rest of this back on, and then I will show you with everything back on. Time to wrap this baby up. Coil packs are back on. All the valve cover bolts are torqued to the correct spec. One thing that I did notice, because you're moving this pipe, this nut came loose. Now it may have already been loose, I don't know, but it was loose, so I've had to tighten that up. Well, I had to, but that's what you do. This is a fuel line. Last thing you want is fuel pouring over the engine. Not good. All the hoses are reconnected. There's one there, and it goes round the back. I don't know if I can see it, and connects there. So there's lots of nice new hoses in position. There's another one there. Next thing is to put the filter back on, or the filter in, and then the filter housing back on, and then the engine cover. Serpentine belt's been done, as previously mentioned. Then we'll start this baby. Just make sure you go over everything twice. I always do, and still sometimes, I must admit, shit happens. You miss something. You forget to tighten a particular bolt, which is embarrassing to say the least. I believe everything on this is okay. As soon as I've finished wrapping this up now, I'm going to look at the suspension for this customer and then call him and say, come give me your money, which is always a nice thing to do from my point of view. Alright, there you go. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel, JagVet1. You don't have to, but it helps me.